Tourists from 2 more mainland cities will be able to visit Hong Kong on individual tours. Xia Baolong on the second day of fact-finding visit to the city. And Joe Biden meets the widow of deceased Russian opposition leader. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The individual visit scheme for mainlanders to visit Hong Kong is set to cover 2 more cities, Qingdao and Xi'an, starting next month. With that, residents from a total of 51 mainland cities can travel to the SARs on an individual basis. Chief Executive John Lee expressed hope that more cities will gradually be included under the travel arrangement. Starting March 6, Qingdao City in Shandong Province and Xi'an City in Shanxi Province, the 2 new additions to the individual visit scheme will mark the first phase of the program's expansion. Currently, residents with permanent household registration of 49 mainland cities, mainly first-tier ones, can take trips to Hong Kong and Macau via the scheme. They can travel once or twice to the SAR within 3 months or 1 year and stay here up to 7 days. Other mainland residents can only visit the SAR on business visas or group tours. Chief Executive John Lee thanked the central government for the new arrangement, noting Qingdao and Xi'an are major cities with population of more than 10 million, while recording GDP growth rates of over 5% last year. Xi'an's GDP reached around 1.2 trillion yuan last year. For Qingdao, 1.58 trillion yuan. Lee said their high-income, high-spending residents could be high-value overnight tourists to Hong Kong. Retail sector lawmaker Peter Xu said the individual visit scheme's expansion can benefit various sectors, from retail and hospitality to the catering industry. But to maximize the effectiveness, Xu said the government should also raise the $5,000 duty-free allowance of each mainland tourist to $100,000 a year, the same as Hainan Province. The director of Beijing's Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, Xia Baolong, continued his visit in the city today. His itinerary included meeting executive council members and some lawmakers, as well as holding discussions with business leaders on issues that include Article 23's legislation work and the city's economic development. Day 2 of the Hong Kong trip of Xia Baolong, director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. He started the day with a visit to the chief executive's office. It's understood he had breakfast with executive council members and met with some lawmakers for around 2 hours, including Legislative Council President Andrew Leung and 25 chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of LegCo committees, including Starry Lee, who chairs the House Committee, Ben Chan, who chairs the Transport Panel, and Lo Wai Kwok, chairman of the Panel on Development. Participating lawmakers said views were exchanged on issues encompassing Article 23's legislation efforts, Hong Kong's economic development, the integration into the Greater Bay Area, patriotic education, and the Northern Metropolis Development Project.
The central government do support and care Hong Kong very much. Through Mr. Sa's visit, he communicated clearly this message. We will unite it together under the administration, under the Hong Kong administration and under CE, and we will give constructive advice to Hong Kong government and also to central government.
In the afternoon, Xia visited the International Organization for Mediation Preparatory Office in Central, where he was greeted by Secretary for Justice Paul Lam and Liu Guangyuan, Deputy Director of Beijing's Liaison Office in Hong Kong. Xia then returned to the central government offices. Accompanied by Financial Secretary Paul Chan, Xia met with Hong Kong's business leaders, including Jonathan Choi, who chairs the Hong Kong Chinese General Chamber of Commerce, Raymond Kwok, chairman of Sun Hung Kai Properties, and Gordon Wu, chairman of Hopewell Holdings. Chief Executive John Lee said after Xia arrived in Hong Kong on Thursday, Xia relayed the message of care from President Xi Jinping.
There's a very strong common will that we should lay out our priority requests and try to work out practical solutions for the benefit of Hong Kong.
Lee added Beijing attaches great importance to the week-long fact-finding mission this time, with 3 deputy directors of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office and 5 bureau chiefs on the team. The Court of Final Appeal has rejected the appeal by the Department of Justice to restore the conviction of 7 pro-democracy activists for organizing an unauthorized assembly. They include Democratic Party founder Martin Lee and media mogul Jimmy Lai. In August 2019, the now disbanded Civil Human Rights Front held a water flow-style procession at Victoria Park. Apart from Li and Lai, the other 5 defendants include Li Chek-yan, Margaret Ng, and Leung Kwok-hong, also known as Long Hair. While their conviction of participating in an unauthorized assembly was upheld, judges at the Court of Final Appeal ruled that the defendants' role is different from the meaning of organizing mentioned in the Public Order Ordinance. The judges therefore quashed the appeal from the Department of Justice. After a container ship in Nansha crashed into the Liqinxia Bridge in Guangzhou yesterday, which led to 5 deaths, local authorities set up a temporary dock to facilitate the transport and commute of residents on Salmon Island. The Liqinxia Bridge is the only passageway to the downtown area of Guangzhou for residents on Salmon Island. The water supply pipeline to the island was damaged owing to the incident, but the supply has been restored now. Some residents could be seen packing up to move temporarily to the urban area. Authorities have put up 2 ferry steamers into service to help with transportation. The United Nations Security Council heard the strongest calls yet for a stop to the fighting between Israel and Hamas. Doctors Without Borders said there is no health system to speak of in Gaza and blames the United States for not doing enough. David Garrett reports.
It has been described as a heinous massacre in central Gaza. Patients are treated on the floor and in temporary wards at the Al-Aqsa hospital in Deir al-Balah. Israel targeted 3 residents with drones in yet another attack. The death toll was at least 27. Body bags piled up outside the hospital amid more desperate and chaotic scenes. The IDF released footage of what they called a strike on a Hamas terrorist cell. Soldiers then go house to house, continuing their hunt for Hamas targets. Hamas said its political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, had left Egypt after holding talks about a possible ceasefire involving an exchange of Hamas-held hostages and Palestinian prisoners. The Israeli Prime Minister, showing no signs of agreeing to any kind of truce, visited troops in the snow-capped Golan Heights. Benjamin Netanyahu told fighters the goal is simple: restore security in the north after Israel suffered attacks along their Lebanon border from Iran-backed Hezbollah. These raids have intensified since Israel's war on Hamas began. At the United Nations, there are still deep concerns the conflict could widen.
I am concerned that if the violence in Gaza does not end, the tensions and restrictions remain high in the West Bank, including at the holy sites in East Jerusalem, the holy month of Ramadan risks becoming another volatile marker rather than a time for contemplation and healing.
There can be no sustainable ceasefire in Gaza without the hostages being released.
We are appalled by the willingness of the United States to use its powers as a permanent council member to obstruct efforts to adopt the most evident of resolutions, one demanding an immediate and sustained ceasefire.
The Secretary-General of Médecins Sans Frontières says there is virtually no health care system in Gaza.
Israel's military has dismantled hospital after hospital. What remains is so little in the face of such carnage is preposterous. The excuse given is that medical facilities have been used for military purposes, yet we have seen no independently verified evidence of this. Catastrophic injuries, amputations, crushed limbs, and severe burns. Medics cannot treat these injuries on a battlefield or in the ashes of destroyed hospitals.
China's permanent representative, Zhang Jun, said the latest Security Council veto by the United States means the Council missed yet another opportunity to push for a ceasefire. David Garrett, TVB News.
The mother of a recently deceased Russian opposition figurehead, Alexei Navalny, said she has seen her son's body, but she accused the Kremlin of preventing a public funeral for him. This comes as U.S. President Joe Biden met with Navalny's daughter and widow. Danny Rao reports.
The mother of Russia's leading opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, said she has seen her son's body and that she is resisting strong pressure by authorities to agree to a secret burial outside the public eye. Navalny died in an Arctic prison last week, prompting hundreds of Russians across the country to stream to impromptu memorials with flowers and candles. Speaking from the Arctic city of Salihard, Lyudmila Navalnaya said investigators have allowed her to see her son's body in the city morgue. She reaffirmed the demand to give Navalny's body to her and protested what she described as authorities trying to force her to agree to a secret burial. She said Russian authorities are blackmailing her, setting conditions where, when and how her son should be buried. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden met with Navalny's widow Yulia Navalnaya and 20-year-old daughter Dasha while in San Francisco. Speaking to the press before a fundraising event, Biden expressed condolences for their devastating loss.
This morning I had the honor of meeting with Alexei Navalny's wife and daughter. As to state the obvious, he was a man of incredible courage, and it's amazing how his wife and daughter are emulating that. But the one thing that was made clear to me is that Yolanda is gonna continue the fight he had underway. So we're not letting up. Thank you.
Biden also reiterated his plans to announce further sanctions against Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin's war machine on Friday, who he says was responsible for Navalny's death. Britain also announced a new package of sanctions against Russia on Thursday. The sanctions affect companies linked to the Russian ammunition industry and targeted sources of revenue in the metals, diamonds and energy industries. Key Russian importers and manufacturers of machine tools used to manufacture defense systems and components ranging from missiles to tanks and fighter jets were among the others targeted by the sanctions. Dan Orell, TV News.
Still ahead, chief executive and senior officials join LegCo's spring luncheon. Hydrogen-powered bus will enter service this Sunday. And U.S. company makes commercial landing on the moon. Welcome back. Chief Executive John Lee and other senior government officials attended the spring luncheon held at the Legislative Council today. Before the luncheon began, the city leader watched a Chinese orchestra performance by primary students. Also in attendance were Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chen and Financial Secretary Paul Chan. LegCo President Andrew Leung delivered a speech at the banquet hall, saying he's confident that the city's economy will show promising improvement with the legislation of Article 23. City Bus's first hydrogen-powered bus, the first such vehicle in the city, will enter service on Sunday. Timothy Lee was on board the bus for a test ride.
Another major step for Hong Kong's path towards achieving zero-emission transportation. The City Bus hydrogen-powered double-decker will begin its public service at 11 a.m. on Sunday, carrying passengers from Mukon Street and Kai Tak through areas such as Kowloon City, Yau Tsum Mong and Sham Shui Po, before reaching Hoi Tat and Cheung Sha Wan. Owing to legal restrictions on hydrogen buses traveling across tunnels, the hydrogen double-decker will only operate in Kowloon in its early phase. With some voicing safety concerns regarding the vehicle's use of a new energy source, Citybus stressed the bus has undergone numerous tests and is in safe hands.
I think safety is very important issue when we consider to bring in the hydrogen bus in Hong Kong. And actually, the bus itself has been examined by the Hong Kong Transport Department, and it actually passed all the examination and got the license to run on the Hong Kong road. And also, we have provide a lot of training to our bus captain, so they know how to handle any emergency cases.
The bus was developed in a joint effort between Citybus and Mainland Automobile Company Wisdom Motor, and is the first licensed hydrogen-powered bus in the city. Citybus said one of the primary benefits of the new bus is its time and cost efficiency. The company noted that while its electric bus has a range of 200 kilometers after being charged for around 3 hours, its hydrogen counterpart has a range of 400 kilometers after being refueled for just 10 to 15 minutes. Citybus also noted it will build a new hydrogen refueling station later this year, which can help refuel 10 to 12 buses per day, and that it aims to replace its fleet of diesel buses with the zero-emission ones by 2045.
Passengers can find several cylinders at the back of this hydrogen-powered double-decker, where hydrogen undergoes a chemical reaction with oxygen in this fuel cell to power the vehicle. As you can see here, the bus does not emit exhaust gas, just water. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Beijing State Council has appointed Nong Rong, who was the Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, as the Deputy Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. Nong could be seen accompanying Xia Baolong, head of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, to the SAR during his current week-long visit. 56-year-old Nong Rong graduated from Peking University. In the early years of his political career, Nong served in various positions in Guangxi. In 2020, he became the Chinese ambassador to Pakistan. South Korea raised its health alert to the highest level on Friday after a mass walkout by trainee doctors this week. The health ministry said it will fully allow telemedicine services at all hospitals and clinics to help cope with the impact of a walkout by trainee doctors. Meanwhile, South Korean doctors held a rally Thursday outside the South Korean presidential office in Seoul as their protest continues against the government's medical school quota hike plan and its warning of legal action against protesting doctors. Nearly 7,900 resident and intern doctors, or nearly 70% of the country's total, have left their jobs following the government's plan to expand medical school admissions. On Thursday, tens of thousands of people in the U.S. woke up to phones that could not make calls or text messages as a widespread cell phone outage lasted for hours before AT&T was able to restore service. NBC News has more.
Tonight, still no explanation for the massive nationwide cell phone outage. AT&T, one of the largest wireless carriers in the country, going down early this morning for some customers, unable to send or receive any calls or texts.
As soon as I woke up this morning, it was gone.
The outage lasting for hours.
Didn't have any service. I need to make some phone calls.
The company saying wireless service is now fully restored, but the FBI and Department of Homeland Security are investigating. The Bureau saying should we learn of any malicious activity, we will respond accordingly.
I think a lot of people right now are asking, how does something like this happen?
Unfortunately, the technologies that we use are becoming increasingly complicated. This highlights the dependencies we have on very complex systems.
Some emergency departments urging people not to call 911 unnecessarily. Massachusetts State Police saying they were flooded with calls that clogged their system as people tried to test their phones.
Lexington 911, where's your emergency?
This Kentucky 911 dispatch center had normal call volume this morning, but says today's outage is a good reminder to have alternate modes of communication.
It's not a bad idea to have a landline available.
The outage impacting people from coast to coast.
My messages weren't sending, I wasn't getting anything. Today's my birthday, so I want to call my mom and stuff.
In Los Angeles, Uber driver Time Johnson feeling a difference during the morning commute. What have you noticed?
It's just been really, really slow. So I'm thinking it may be the outages because people can't order their Ubers.
Security experts saying the situation reveals potential vulnerabilities.
I think it does show, though, that we need to really be thoughtful about, as we adopt these technologies, as we become dependent upon them, that there are fail-safes, that there are rollovers.
A stark reminder as our reliance on technology only grows.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.